Welcome to the Guy Who Knows a Guy podcast. I am your host, Michael Whitehouse, the guy who knows a guy himself, and we are recording live to tape at Podapalooza number 15. Over the last 5 years, I have had the privilege of meeting and learning from thousands of entrepreneurs, experts, and awesome people, and now I leverage that knowledge to help my clients cut through the junk and focus on what they need to achieve their goals. And our next guest fits along with this because Shauna Van Mourik, did I say that right?
Shauna Van Mourik, you got it.
Shauna Van Mourik, look at that. Yes. Shauna empowers women coaches and therapists to create positive impact through authentic branding and marketing strategies that attract dream clients. And I was just telling Shauna, last week I ran the Authentic Marketing Summit. So that is a concept that is very much near and dear to my heart. And I'm looking forward to a conversation about authentic marketing and branding. So let's start it off there. What does authentic marketing and branding mean to you?
Well, I love it. Well, I can start by saying what it doesn't mean to me.
Okay.
And this is a really important distinction because when we're doing our branding, we like to look at words, brand tone words, personality, that sort of thing. And people like to use these buzzwords like authentic, but they mean different things to different people. I think it's a really important concept to understand that one word may not mean the same thing to everyone. So for me, and this does not mean that it's for everyone, for me, being authentic does not mean recording myself ugly crying in a closet. For some people, that's the way they rock. And I'm like, hey, man, you do you. That's all right. But it doesn't look like that for me. For me, authenticity does not look like airing out dirty laundry.
Mm-hmm.
For many people who I work with, they choose not to show their family life, their personal life, and that's okay. I do. So for me, my authentic expression of self includes, guess what? I'm a mom to 3 kids. And we are hooligans. Like, I am a child at heart. So you're going to see me playing Legos, digging in the snow, and maybe even jumping on a trampoline. That's just who I am. And so for me, let's flip the script. Authenticity is genuinely just being me and my favorite self. I don't say best self purposefully because that can be really heavy for a lot of people. And you will never always be your best self. But I be my favorite self, and I show up in that way to all of you. Transparent, honest, authentic, genuine, whatever the heck, weird, quirky, fun, making faces. That's authenticity to me. And that's what I bring into my marketing.
I like that. And I think so. The idea is that you don't share everything, but everything you share is true.
Yes. And intentional.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Consider, when you're sitting and talking to a friend, and I think this is a really important part of marketing and branding, is understanding that marketing isn't a sales tactic, right? Marketing, if you use it that way, that's called BS rhetoric, right? That's called bullshit rhetoric. That's when you're trying to persuade and coerce, and that feels icky. Yeah. We don't want that.
Yes.
Right? Marketing is meant to build a relationship. So if you're talking to your friend, are you going to tell them what you did in bed last night with your spouse? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what your friendships are like, but not likely. So we need to kind of understand who we're talking to, who we are, and make sure that we're bridging that gap in a way that feels aligned to us and makes sense for the circumstance.
Yeah, that's good. And you're talking about, being you and being your favorite self. I like that concept. And I always say I'm always me because I can't keep track of anyone else. So like the idea of I'm always impressed, not in a good way, by the people who are like one persona on stage and then off stage they're a different person. Like, how do you keep track of who you're supposed to be? Why don't you just be one person all the time?
But you know what, on that note, something that I used to talk about this all the time, and this is actually the first time in quite a while that it's been brought up, is I talked about this concept of a suitcase and people who, and specifically in relation to masking, which is what I believe you're talking about. These personas, these masks that you wear, and people will drag around this heavy suitcase laden with masks. You can't go far with that. It's freaking heavy. right? You're dragging it around. You're exhausted. When you take off that mask, who you actually are is not who, it isn't your favorite self, typically. So if you can just friggin' ditch that briefcase and just come to it as you are, your favorite self, it's a lot easier to, number one, meet the right people who jive with what you're doing. And number two, go far with those people.
Absolutely. Yeah. People used to ask me who my target audience for my email list was. And I said, I guess it's people who like me. Because at the time I didn't really have great clarity on what my business solution was, but I was running summits and events. So I was building a list, and people would come in and some would stay and some would leave. And I was like, well, I guess the ones who stay, they like what I write. And the ones who leave, they don't like what I write. And I was doing a super great job converting them. But I found it worked well because I'd bring them in. They would like me. They'd trust me. I'd refer affiliate partners. They would buy from those affiliate partners. Sometimes they'd buy from me. But that was my target audience, people who liked me. And if they didn't like what I said, well, they can go. That's why there's 3 unsubscribe links on every email. They can leave anytime they want.
And that's a great place to start.
Yeah.
It's a great place to start, because then you start tapping into, who am I? What do I believe in? And then starting to ask more business driven questions like, what am I trying to do? Right? What is the objective here from a business strategy point of view? Right? What am I trying to sell? What problem am I trying to solve? And then for whom and how? Right? All of those questions just kind of are blossomed out of it. But starting from that place of, who the hell am I? And do you even like me? And if you like me, do I care one way or the other? And then it starts with the mindset work and all that jazz. But that's about discovering your personal brand and how you want that personal brand to seep into your professional brand. I love it.
Yeah, that's good. And I like to say about personal brand there. So I think a lot of people, if all they know of business is big companies, and so they have this idea of what a brand should be, in a professional brand, and and that's a mix of how they should present themselves for corporate, which is remove anything that could offend anyone, because if you offend your boss, you lose your job. Plus, corporate ends up being a little bit impersonal because they have to, because they're a corporation, and they end up giving away the greatest asset they have as a solopreneur, which is they're already a person. Progressive spends millions of dollars to create Flow. Geico spends millions of dollars to create the Gecko, because they don't have a person. So they have to invent a person. And all of us solopreneurs, we've already got a person.
That's exactly it. And I love the way you put that. That is so perfect, because truthfully, and first of all, I'm going to steal it. And second of all, I think that when you're able to just come as you are, so to speak, it makes every other decision in your business a lot easier.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why we do it, right? We didn't want to be caged in the corporate life, to be shackled to someone else's sense of what is success. We wanted to create our own. We wanted to really develop a lifestyle that made sense for us and our values and the way we want to live. I've got sourdough starter sitting on my stove right now. I'm going to be making some muffins. Would I be doing that if I was stuck to a 9 to 5 until, 6:00 at night? Probably not.
Yep.
But I get to, because I have breaks when I want breaks. It makes a difference. So tapping into your authentic self, who you are, how you express yourself, is a really great way to create the life that is perfect for that self.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. So you work primarily with women coaches and therapists?
I do, yes.
And so what are some of the unique challenges they have around this authentic marketing, and how are you able to help them?
Well, we already addressed one of them, and that is this idea of the corporate mentality bleeding into their business. But the other aspect of that is really the fact that they are predominantly the helpers. And being the helper, and I know this from experience, being the helper, you want to be in service. You want to do the job. You want to help the person. But being a business owner, right, working for yourself, you need to provide yourself with the people to help. And that's a whole nother ball game, right? So while they have immense skill and knowledge in their helper expertise, They may not have that same skill and knowledge as a business professional.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I find happens is they start wearing all the hats because they need to. I get it. You're put into this position where, oh my goodness, I'm a solopreneur, a micro business owner. I need to also be marketer and sales and this and that and the other. And you're overwhelmed and you're riding the hamster wheel. And now you're only serving 2 people and you don't even have the time to onboard another person, let alone the other person standing in line because you weren't marketing effectively in the first place because you didn't know how.
Mm-hmm.
And that is frustrating. It's exhausting. So this is where I see a lot of these coaches, therapists, women entrepreneurs in general, who, they have to juggle all these balls, right? The important part of this, and this is actually something that Nora Roberts, an author, mentioned, is, while you're juggling all these balls, you need to be able to realize that some of those balls are glass and some are plastic. All you need to worry about is not dropping the glass balls.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's okay. Let the plastic balls go. Eventually, when you're focusing on those glass ones, the things that really matter to you, you'll get into a space where you can maybe have a part-time helper with your marketing, with your branding, with your VA work, somebody to handle your emails, whatever it looks like, whatever would really create that impact, right? That plastic ball that's starting to turn glass, that's the one you outsource, right? So I would say that, to answer your questions, those coaches and therapists, they're really juggling everything because they are the helper trying to be the business person, and they need to ask for help. And it can be hard for the helper to ask for help. I know that was a convoluted way to answer that question, but here I am.
No,
of me.
Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And they're so focused on, and that's challenging being the helper, is they want to help everyone. And so they put themselves last, burn themselves out, try and do everything, and then end up helping no one because they burn themselves out. Now I just noticed the book behind you that says F. For moments, like I was trying to figure out what letter was missing. I'm like, oh no, that says F the.
There's no letter missing.
Yeah, that says F the shoulds and do the wants.
Yep. This was actually a gift that my husband gave me for Christmas this year. I haven't finished it all yet, but it's a great read. It is by Tricia Huffman, and she's a joyologist. P.S. Joyologist. Freaking love that. But my husband knows I like these types of books, but the main reason that he got this for me, I just want to toot his horn for a moment because it was very well thought out. This book was not available like anywhere for a long time. And this book in particular, because there were only a few of them where the foreword, give me a moment, where the foreword was actually signed, not by the author, by the person who wrote the foreword.
Ooh.
Jason Mraz. Jason Mraz has a song where he says, F in the shoulds. And so he's written the foreword for this. Now, I don't know how Tricia got him to write the foreword, but I need to get him to write the foreword for my book when it comes out.
Nice.
Anyways, it's brilliant. Jason's a brilliant musician who really taps into that feeling of authenticity and lifestyle and advocating for the things that matter most in your life and really just tapping into the joy. And of course, Tricia, being a joyologist, also does the same thing. So yeah, F the shoulds and just do whatever the hell you want.
Yep. Yeah. I love one of the things that we often say in our events in my community is don't should all over yourself.
Yes. I have a friend who says the same thing, and you're right.
Yeah. All clients will be like, yeah, I know I should have a podcast, but most often it's social media. I know I should be on Facebook. I'm like, who said you should be on Facebook? And they're like, well, you're on Facebook. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not you. Who said you should be on Facebook? Yeah, I know I should be on Facebook. I really hate it. Well, then you probably shouldn't be on Facebook. Why would you do something you hate? What, your boss telling you to?
Exactly. I love that. And actually, that taps into something that I frequently preach almost anywhere I can go is people often ask me, well, what should I be creating? And I said, well, listen, I'm not going to tell you what you should be creating, but I'm going to tell you a way to think about what you could create. Mm-hmm. Right? And this is the way I do it. I speak in regards to a Venn diagram. I use my hands as the circles. I'm a very visual person. Mm-hmm. So I tell people to think about what you love to create, how you love to create it, in the format that you love to create it, the content, right? Do you love to write? Do you love videos? Do you like talking about what pillars, for lack of a better word, the content pillars? What do you love to talk about, and how do you love to talk about it? Are you conversational? Are you professional? All of that goes into this first bin. The second one is know your ideal audience. What do they love to consume? How do they love to consume it? In what medium, in what format, in what dialogue, in what tone? Now, overlap those, and that's where you create that little overlap right there. If you can find out what exists in that overlap, that's where you're going to find the most joy and the best yield on whatever you're producing when it comes to ROI and clients coming in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a very powerful way to think about it. And of course, the thing with the shoulds is like the reason you start your own business is not so you could turn yourself into your own boss.
That's right.
So you can be your own boss, but not that kind of boss. So yeah.
You gotta just relax into it, be authentic in how you're showing up in your brand, but also in your marketing. And that includes your strategy. This is something that I often get a lot of, I don't want to say it's pushback, but the objections, we talk about objections a lot, of course. The objections that I get about marketing strategy is this idea that, oh no, a strategy is going to cage me. And I want to kind of dismiss that as a myth. And this is why. Outdated marketing strategies may feel like a cage.
Yeah.
But if you are progressive thinking, and if you understand the way you can optimize digital marketing authentically and in a way that feels aligned, then you're going to be able to create a strategy that allows for emotive, intuitive posting and creation and connection, right? You're going to create a strategy that keeps yourself aligned with your foundation and your goal. Make sure that you're actually being attentive to the details, your client journey, et cetera, all those tactical, practical things. Keeps you posting regularly, consistently. We know consistency is key. We hear that all the time. But it also leaves room for playfulness, creativity, advocacy. And if you're able to create a strategy like that, now it's freeing. Now it's intentional. It allows you to achieve goals that far surpass monetary gains in your business, but it also allows you to step into your life in a way that's meaningful and impactful. And that's where I come from when it comes to creating a marketing strategy that not only converts, but feels good too.
Yeah. And I think what's great about that kind of strategy, because, systems create freedom, as opposed to limitations, and people don't realize that. And one thing, I find I have different energy levels, different days, but I like writing, and I usually have something I want to rant about. So because I have a system, I have an email list, and I've built an audience who likes reading my stuff. So when I'm like, I don't feel like working today, I'm just going to rant about something. I'm not working, I'm just ranting, and then sending it to my email list and putting it on LinkedIn. But that's not work. That's just writing about stuff. And then the stress goes away because I'm like, well, what if I offend someone? Good.
Exactly.
Because they're probably not my people. Now, I do always, I want to make sure I'm not going to offend someone by accident because, I said something the wrong way, or I explained it the wrong way, or I misquoted somebody or whatever. I don't want to offend someone not being me. But if I offend you because I'm me and because I have an opinion, that's a you problem, not a me problem.
Especially if you lead with kindness. This is an integral rule of my life and business. I too have a podcast, Marketing Rebels, Breaking Business Barriers. And in my rebellious state, I still maintain this cardinal rule that you lead with kindness. So while I say, while I vehemently agree, who cares if you offend somebody? I don't mean that from the bigoted sense. I mean that from the sense that you have intentionally led with kindness. And you are creating an inclusive and loving space for all while still voicing an opinion. And you're not out there to cause harm.
Yeah.
So like all of those things to say, if someone disagrees, okay, show yourself to the door. That's okay. Bye. Just be okay with it.
Yeah.
Causing that sort of cognitive dissonance within people is actually a really great tool to leverage within your marketing. But I feel like that would take us down another whole pathway if we dove there.
We've got like 2 minutes left. So I'm definitely have to bring you back, get you on a summit or 6. because I do run quite a few of them and I would love to have you there. But we are running out of time, and they're telling us they're about to shut down the Podatorium, so we got to finish up before that is over. And you are wrapping up my day of podcast, and a great interview to wrap up my day with. So, Shauna, what is your final thought, and how can people get in touch with you?
That's gracious. My thoughts never end, first of all. But
final thought for now.
For now,
Yeah.
in the moment, live in the moment, be present. Maybe that is my final thought. Maybe that is my final thought. And that's what the gift I'm going to give to you and all of the viewers here is be present. Touch base with yourself and who you are and who you want to be, the goals that you want to accomplish. And the only way to do that is to really pause, take a minute, and touch base with yourself to be present in the moment. There's a Jason Mraz song about that too. Be Where Your Feet Are. Shameless promotion. It's fabulous. It's hilarious to watch the music video. And finally, if you want to reach out to me to say boo, absolutely go to my website. Go to shaunalee.com. That's SHAUNALEIGH.com. On there, you're going to find all of my socials. Reach out to me, DM me. I'm pretty well everywhere, very intentionally so. And if you say hi, I will say hi back. I'm not that person who holds myself up on a pedestal somewhere. I'm here. I'm the people's people, and I will be like, "Hi, friend, how's it going? Let's I don't know, talk about your dog." I'm here for it. So absolutely connect.
Awesome. That's Shauna, SHAUNALEIGH. At least half those letters are silent. That's why I read them all out. ShaunaLee.com. So great to have you on here, and thank you, and don't go away because I want to talk to you about getting you on a summit.
Absolutely. Sounds fabulous.